here on the CLNS Media Network. I am Mike Kadlick, joined by 98.5's Alex Barth. And we're also happy to welcome another very special guest here on this edition. We are joined by Patriots salary cap guru Miguel Benzon, also known as Pat's Cap on Twitter.
Yay.
He's truly one of the best follows on Twitter. I think he's probably one of the first follows I've ever had. He's always, on top of it, into the nitty-gritty salary cap stuff, where this team is at in the season, off season, from a numbers perspective. And it's truly a service to all of us guys, covering the Patriots. It's super helpful. So, Miguel, thank you so much. Now we're in the off season, we figure have you on, reset the books. So thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
No problem. Glad to be here. Hey, Alex, how you doing?
Good. How's it going? Before we start, I got to thank you. So we did this show last year.
Yeah.
And you gave me the riot act for quoting Spot Track. And
Yep.
I use Over the Cap now, and I noticed the difference. So
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Okay, and you'll notice the difference even today. Like I literally that site still has a Patriots cap space has 46 million. Well,
Yep.
DC has it around just under 33 million. And I have it around 34 million. All right, that's all I got to say.
Makes sense to me.
Okay, that's all I got to say because I bought some umbrella insurance because one day I will slip out and say how I actually feel about that site, and I'll probably get sued by that.
All right, so I won't make you do that, but you kind of just gave your number. You said about 46, but that's
no. That's the wrong number. My number is 34.
34. Okay. So, and we know we're dealing with some audio issues here. We're going to try to work through it, but let me just ask you this. Let's start off here. Let's set the number. It's 34 right now.
Yeah.
But cap space can be maneuvered.
Yes.
How much money do you think the Patriots realistically have to work with this offseason, and where do you think they rank in terms of the 32 teams in terms of how much they'll be able to spend?
Tell me what do you consider a realistic move? Because realistic means what you consider realistic and what I consider realistic might be different.
Okay, I mean, so 34 is the number right now, right?
Before any
right,
moves. All right.
Right. Without tearing down the roster, without, let's say, without parting ways with any core pieces, but you can include extending contracts, restructuring contracts, nothing that's going to make us go, oh, wow, I can't believe they did that, right? What's like a realistic ballpark for how much they'll have to spend?
I can get 60, 70, 67, 65 easy. I'm talking about Jalen Mills, Devin McCourty, redoing his deal, all right? Because his deal's going to void. I don't know. Sorry, folks, about the audio. I don't know what's going on. I sounded funny on the last podcast. I don't know. So I'm talking.
Why don't you Let's try what we did before. Why don't you just jump off real quick, jump back on, and we'll see if that fixes
I wonder if it also has to do with the headphones and the mic, and maybe if you just use the laptop. But see what happens when you log out and log in.
This is a desktop.
Okay.
Let me just take off the.
What do you have? What do you have? Do you have like a desk mic, like a separate microphone? All right, now we can't.
It might be a connection issue too.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, Miguel, you back?
How's that? I'm here. No. You guys
still a little rattly. What? Can you go into the settings and just use your default computer mic and try that?
Yeah. Let's do that. Okay. Sorry, folks.
All right. Sorry, guys.
You're good.
But it's a real behind the scenes here.
It's crazy though, because in talking about the cap though, it's you look at Miguel's page and you look at, these online websites and you see they only have a number like 34 million, but the maneuvering and the way it happens every offseason and teams always find a way to do it. Myself, I know I can never keep track of it. And so the fact that Miguel just said he could anyway flip upwards to $30 million more and get them closer to 60, yeah. It's crazy how it even happens.
It's the cap is really flexible for them. They have very little in terms of guaranteed money and prorated signing bonus. They can make cap space. When you say realistic, for me, like you can get great cap space by cutting Trent Brown. You can create cap space by Devontae Parker, Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Mills, doing something with Matthew Judon. Even if you want to create cap space, not now, but later after June 1st, you could cut John Smith as designate him as June 1. You wouldn't get cap savings now, but you would get the cap savings on June 2nd. That would allow you to sign your draft picks. I don't know if that fixed the issue here. Oh, I don't believe this. This is just awful. Sorry, folks.
No, you're good. Did you try going into the settings and changing it to your?
Yeah.
Okay, it's still like this.
Yeah, hold on. Let me just turn off that. How's that?
Still, it's still kind of in and out.
Let me shut this thing down.
I like this comment. Want to try it on an iPhone, Miguel? Maybe click the link on an iPhone and see if that could work.
Camera.
All right, why don't we let's figure this out. Oh, you got it?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, try leaving and reconnecting. Try leaving and reconnecting. Maybe
Okay.
that'll do.
All right. Because if I can hear you, that's all I need.
Okay. All right, Mike, take his video down so he can reconnect. And
all right,
we apologize, guys. We'll try to
guys.
get it figured out. It was working before we came on, so that's unfortunate. I do like what he said there, and I don't know if people couldn't hear it. I'll tell you this: what I heard from him, and maybe for some reason we can hear him and people can't.
Yeah.
Said that the realistic number they can get to without any, massive, shocking moves is 70-ish million, right? And that the cap's very flexible for the Patriots right now. I know I got read the Riot Act by Felger yesterday. I was on with them. I started talking about the cap. Oh, it can be maneuvered,
Yeah.
right? We actually have to do stuff to maneuver it. And it sounds like the things they have to do aren't monumental. So
Right.
For a team that has needs at premium positions that are going to cost money, that's exciting. All right, let's try this again.
All right,
let's try this one more time.
They can hear me.
All right. Hey, we got you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, yes, here it is. Nobody move.
Tell us in the chat too. You got him.
So let me set you up again. We're 7 minutes in. We're going to start the show over here.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I'm so sorry.
No, dude, it's technology. Like, this is the fact that I've been doing the show for 3 years. That's like the biggest technology bust we've had. Oh no, I tried to do it from my car once. That was a mess. But anyway, all right, let's.
Oh my gosh.
From my car's bad traffic day. All right. What is, without any shocking over the top moves, just usual cap manipulation moves, what is the realistic spending number the Patriots can get to this offseason?
I'd go with 65.
65.
Okay.
I would go with 65 because I don't think they're going to tag Jacoby Myers.
I wouldn't think so, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
for example, the website right now, remember their cap space numbers are not for any tags. Like, for example, the Ravens numbers could be if you think the Ravens are going to tag Lamar Jackson, you got to add 30 plus or 40 plus $1 million for that. If you think the Seattle does tag Geno Smith, you got to add to that. Takes away from their cap space, all right? So you had asked earlier, Alex, where I think the Patriots are going to rank in terms of teams. They're going to be definitely in the top half. I used to think top 6. I still think they're going to be top 6, but closer to 6 and then closer to 1. It really depends on where, at the end of a tag period, who gets tagged, where they're going to be ranked. And that's really important because I don't think they're going to tag Jacoby Myers, nor I don't think they're going to transition tag Jacoby Myers. But if I'm right on that, they should be top 8, close to 6 and 8, depending on what happens.
So somewhere probably top 10, not top 5, $65 million. And that's a good place to be. So I guess your audio's coming in and out again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Sorry. All right, so I think what we'll do here, we might.
Sorry, Miguel. We're not blaming you. Don't worry about it.
We're not blaming you. We're gonna make an executive decision here. We know that the Patriots had $65 million to work with. We are going to have Miguel have you jump off. We will do this again.
Yes.
At some point next week. We will
Okay.
figure
Sorry.
this out once and for all for everyone. No, it's
Okay.
not you.
You're good.
We'll make it happen.
I don't know.
We appreciate it. I know it's tough. We all wanted to hear about it, but we also have OC stuff to talk about. So, Miguel,
take care.
thank you
Goodbye.
so much. We'll get you on another time.
We'll get
Again,
you on. All right.
sorry everyone
Okay.
about the audio, but
Okay, bye-bye.
let's.
Oh my gosh.
All right. We'll get Miguel on. I do have other questions for him, so we'll get him
So
on.
do I.
I don't know. I don't know if we could hear him better than the people in the chat. Maybe it was tough to tell, but thanks to everybody for sticking through that. We'll get him back on soon.
I mean, I had questions like, I mean, you look at Jonnu Smith, and again, I'm using Spot Rack, so I didn't know that was.
Okay, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. He got real mad
Yeah.
at me last year about that. Use over the cap, and it's tough because Spot Track looks pretty, but
Right.
he's right. If you go in and look, the numbers don't line up right. Like they have guys, for instance, they have Michael Pilardi with like 2 more years on his contract that don't exist.
Yeah,
Like I don't know where
crazy.
those are coming from. So
Yeah, so I mean, I'm looking at guys though like Jonnu Smith looks to have a huge cap hit. I don't know what the difference, and I don't know what the difference is when you cut him or keep him versus where the hit versus it doesn't. So we got to have Miguel on this thing to set that all up for us once for all. But what we can do quickly is actually let's talk offensive coordinator interviews. We'll go piece by piece because we now have we'll do all 5 of them. We now have 5 confirmed offensive coordinator candidates.
And it sounds like this is going to be the full list based off of what Rappaport said today.
Right. That's exactly. So we have Nick Caley, Keenan McCardle, Sean Washington, Adrian Clem, and Bill O'Brien. So let's start in-house. I think that's the best way to do it, which is Nick Caley. Patriots tight ends coach. A lot of people thought he should have been the nominee candidate, if you will, last season. Him and Bill O'Brien, but Caley he's been around here for quite some time now. He's done a pretty good job with the tight ends, despite what you want to say about Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. And it's also a position where you're not just really coaching the tight ends. Like you are, but you're involved with blocking, you're involved with, route running, and you're really involved with those 2 things.
You're involved in the passing game and the running game.
Exactly. So it's like you kind of have to know what's going on if you're a tight ends coach. So again, he also interviewed with the Jets this week for their offensive coordinator job. So I wonder what's going to happen there. And I wonder if it's just a year too late with Caley because it was something that frankly just should have happened last year. And it's kind of a bummer that this interview happened now instead of a year ago.
Yeah, I'm going to be pissed if they hire him. Like straight up. Where was this? What did he learn in the last year? What changed in the last year other than Matt Patricia is no longer being paid by the Detroit Lions?
Right.
Good luck to him. I'm not saying I think he's a bad coach, but it's a bad look if they hire him. It's oddly enough a worse look if they hire him and it doesn't work. It does work. Sorry. If they hire him and it works, there is going to be this massive narrative, and rightfully so, about why he wasn't hired over Matt Patricia last year. They can't do that. They can't afford to do that.
Right.
As good of a candidate as he may be, I think he's a fine candidate. I don't know if he's the best candidate. I have him 4th of the 5 in terms of the order I take them. But, maybe they're trying to get him to stay. Maybe they bump up his title, run game coordinator, something like that under the next OC. But like you convince him to stay and you pull the trigger for him to not go to Vegas with McDaniels, who wanted him. You don't
Didn't they block
his contract.
Did they block him going out there?
They blocked him. They didn't extend his contract. Then they don't make him the OC. Like they can't afford PR wise to do it. It would it would look, and rightfully so, terrible. However good of a candidate he is. So I'm out on that one. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it should happen. I'd love to see him stay and continue coaching tight ends, but it just, the way everything went last year, you can't do it.
So he interviewed with the Jets as well. So first of all, I wonder why.
And I think there was a report that some other teams were interested. I don't know if he got any other interviews, but I remember hearing like the Broncos were interested.
So Mike
Yeah.
LaFleur gets, they part ways with him there. I don't know if it was technically a firing or if they kind of both wanted to go their separate ways, but I would think Mike LaFleur is a much better offensive coordinator candidate to have in your building than Nick Haley. And I know that there was a lot of stuff that came out and drama behind the scenes with Zach Wilson and all that, but
you need a fall guy. He was the fall guy for making the wrong pick in a class that had Justin Fields and Mac Jones. They took the wrong guy. They took the guy. I shouldn't say everybody. People should have known was the wrong guy. Again, I had him 6th in that class. I had him behind Trask, and they took him 2nd overall.
Yeah.
Wrong place, wrong time for LaFleur. So that's your fault.
So if Nick Haley goes to the Jets and succeeds, is that a worse look than him staying here and succeeding?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a good question.
Yeah.
You could say he has more offensive talent to work with in New York.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that at the time you can just say, look, we didn't think he was ready. He stayed another year. He went to the Jets and he did well. And if you hire Bill O'Brien and things work here, then all's well.
Right.
So I still think if it's fine if he goes elsewhere and succeeds. If he comes here and does well and you don't give anyone else a chance and it's Kaylee and you could have had this a year before, I guess it's a good thing, but it's still a bad look that you didn't just do this thing. You just wasted a full year of everyone's time.
Look, we know how this market works. We know how it works in Boston. Other places, they just be glad they got the guy, but that's not the standard this team is set. It's not.
Right.
So Bill's not going to want to deal with those questions because he will get it every single week. Why wasn't Kaylee the guy last year?
Right.
He's not going to want to deal with it.
Yeah.
For that reason alone, I don't think Kaylee gets it.
Yeah, I think so too. The next candidate that I want to talk about is Keenan McCardle from the Vikings. So looking him up now,
Tampa Bay Buccaneers legend.
Yep, Tampa legend.
I know people go to the Jaguars and the Chargers, but the 2002 Buccaneers might be like they're my favorite non-Patriots team of all time. He caught 2 passes for 6 yards for 2 touchdowns in that Super Bowl.
There you go. So
I got to geek out this week on that one.
Yep, wide receivers coach in the league since 2010 with the Redskins.
Yeah.
He then went to Maryland, was the wide receivers coach for 2 years, came back to the league with the Jags, and he's been with Minnesota since 2001, working under Kevin O'Connell, 2021, excuse me. Worked under Kevin O'Connell this year, who is one of the coach of the year candidates in the NFL, and coached the best wide receiver in football in Justin Jefferson. So, I mean, again, you wonder how much he can really soak up from O'Connell in one season, but he's been around the block, played for Belichick in Cleveland when he was a Cleveland Brown receiver as well, so there's a connection there. He interviewed today alongside not alongside, but in the same day as Bill O'Brien, so knocked him out too. I think it would be not a terrible decision. I think I like what, obviously, you wonder about being a wide receivers coach and how much you give Justin Jefferson versus Justin Jefferson is just Justin Jefferson, but a guy who at least deserved an interview, in my opinion. I think it's a quality, thing to do for them.
Yeah. Well, so McCardell also, when he was at Maryland, worked with Stephon Diggs last year before he went to the draft. So he has a track record here. He does. I'm just going to I know we're trying to go one at a time, but I just to blow it up to the big take here.
Do it.
I like that they are targeting experienced, successful wide receivers coaches, guys who played in the league. McCardell had a long, successful NFL career. He coached Stephon Diggs. He coached Justin Jefferson. There's been other receivers like KJ Osgood, for instance, has been like, they've developed him right into a real NFL receiver. Sean Jefferson is another one. I'm sure who you were going to next there. Played in the league, has a tremendous resume as a wide receivers coach. He was Calvin Johnson's wide receivers coach in Detroit for the first 5 years that Megatron was there. Calvin Johnson, in an interview in 2019, called him the best wide receivers coach in the league. Not the best he's had, the best in the league, period. Now, that doesn't guarantee that those guys, Calvin Johnson's tremendously talented. He did come from a triple option offense in college. I think he probably needs some instruction. Justin Jefferson, tremendously talented. But these guys have been there. They've been around scouting and developing successful wide receivers. Because when you're a wide receivers coach, you kind of work with the scouts on who you like.
Right.
So Sean Jefferson was in those meetings when they're trying to figure out if Calvin Johnson's the guy they want to take second overall, right? And Keenan McCardell's in these meetings when they're discussing Justin Jefferson. We've talked about this a ton, Mike, that they can't develop wide receivers. They can't do it. Neither one of us trusts them going into the draft to get that guy.
Right.
What this tells me, the fact that they have 5 interviews, 2 of them are these blue chip wide receiver coaches. They know to change the way they operate when it comes to wide receivers, when it comes to young wide receivers. Now, that all being said, I don't know that it's enough reason to hire a guy. You still have a young quarterback you've got to develop. You're still dealing with that whole inexperience element. Bill O'Brien's still the best candidate. He's got experience
100%.
working with quarterbacks. He's got experience working with Mac Jones specifically. He can command some autonomy, having been an NFL head coach. He's familiar with the system, all of it. But they're not bringing these guys in for offensive coordinator or bust. That's not how this stuff works. These are guys they're trying to get in the building.
Yep.
I wrote out the list earlier of just who they'd interviewed. Bill O'Brien, Keenan McCardell, Sean Jefferson, Adrian Clem, Nick Caley. That's a staff. That's a coaching staff. Bill O'Brien's your OC and quarterbacks coach. You're probably not going to get McCardell and Jefferson, but you bring one of those guys in as the wide receivers coach and you throw the passing game coordinator tag on to get them to leave their current job, right? Adrian Clem is an offensive line coach. Maybe he's your run game coordinator. Nick Caley for tight ends. You got to go find an assistant QB coach, right? And honestly, the one guy we haven't talked about at all because he's been good is Vinny Sunseri, the running backs coach. I mean, look at Ramondre, what he's turned into, so he can stay. And
they talk him up too in that room. Those guys love him.
So it's not necessarily that I love McCardell or Jefferson as an offensive coordinator. I think that there is upside to that, but I think O'Brien is the safe hire, and they need to go with the safe hire right now. But they're getting those guys in the building. You're going to tell me one of those guys, boom, that's the guy Bill O'Brien's bringing with him to coach the wide receivers?
Right.
Hell yeah. How much have I said this, Mike? You're probably sick of hearing me say it. Once they hire the offensive coordinator, the job's not done. They've got to build the staff beyond them. The staff is not good enough. They lost Dante Scarnecchia, Ivan Fears, Josh McDaniels, all these positional coaches who've been there for 20 years, and they didn't really have the next guy up. Somebody in the chat, Doug Marrone, yes, could be another part of that. You know, I wonder if he takes maybe a senior assistant role like Brett Bielema had in 2019. And then you make Adrian Clem your actual offensive line coach. But like, I'm so encouraged that they're talking to McCardell and Jefferson and guys like that. Not because I think they should be the offensive coordinator outright, but those are guys who have been there, have been in the room, have been with the scouts, with the coaches to develop these wide receivers who know how it's done. Mike, every time we talk about the Steelers, and I bring up, we did this with George Pickens. Well, all right. Well, you don't want them to draft George Pickens because they can't develop receivers and the Steelers can. So why don't we go get a guy from the Steelers who can do it? Like, I get that question all the time. Why don't they just go get a guy from the Steelers? Why don't they hire one of the Steelers wide receivers coaches? It's not the Steelers, but it is 2 guys that have a strong history with wide receivers. And this is basically what that is. They can't do it. They've realized they can't do it. They're going to get somebody who can. That's great. Right. We should all be excited about that. I'm sorry, I blew up your whole thing of going through guy by guy, but
no, it's fine. Let's
the whole thing sort of interconnects. And
talk about the whole thing. I'm with
even
you.
With Adrian Clem, obviously not a wide receivers guy. The interesting angle to me with Clem, aside from the fact that first round picks got to be a tackle, got to be.
Yep.
So get somebody in to actually coach him instead of like 2019 when they just sort of brushed Nick Caserio into the wide receivers coach role after drafting a wide receiver in the first round, N'Keal Harry. The other thing that interests me about Clem, and this is sort of getting into the abstract here. Some people might call it homerish. I think it's a fair take. And this is a college football take, Mike. when Bo Nix left Auburn at the end of 2021, he was
Oh, yeah.
cooked. Like,
he's
he
fucked.
seemed irredeemable.
Yep.
Goes to Oregon, gets himself in the Heisman conversation. Now, Adrian Clem, offensive line coach, run game coordinator, isn't the one coaching Bo Nix, obviously. But he was just in a room where they reinvigorated a young quarterback.
Right.
Might have picked up a thing or two the Patriots can use.
Yeah,
Not
how
saying
you
it's
do
be
that,
all
right.
end all, but again, it's that thing where no, Sean Jefferson doesn't get 100% of the credit for Calvin Johnson becoming Calvin Johnson. No, Keenan McCardell doesn't get 100% of the credit for Justin Jefferson being Justin Jefferson. But they both get some, and they were in the room with other people who get some of that credit and saw what those people did. Guys like that can be valuable assets, and it's good to see them going after them.
I'm with you. Before I give my take on this, I do
Yep.
want to talk about our friends at LinkedIn, Alex. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have the access to the best qualified candidates available, and that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. We use LinkedIn Jobs here at CLNS Media, and we can't recommend it enough. It's super easy to post your job, then add your listing and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to talk to and hire. We're now into January, and it's the perfect time to add the right team member to start 2023 strong. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/beat. That's linkedin.com/beat to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. I think all these guys found this OC job on linkedin.com/beat. It's the best. The Patriots use us. It's the best way to post your jobs. linkedin.com/beat. Go check it out.
Yeah.
A few things on each candidate, really. And, I'm kind of glad that we bunched them up now because I look at two things with the wide receivers, specifically, I guess, in Sean Jefferson is he did just work with DeAndre Hopkins, Alex, and the Cardinals did just hire Monty Austinfort. That's his name, correct?
Yeah.
So he used to be in the Patriots building. They just hired him as their general manager. So I know we talked about it last show, and I don't necessarily think that just because you know a guy, they're gonna cut you a deal. So I don't expect Monty to give the Patriots DeAndre Hopkins for the low, but there's at least a line of communication there in that front office. And DeAndre Hopkins just worked with Sean Jefferson for 2 years. So they have a relationship. Hopkins has a no trade clause, so he has to accept to where he gets traded. So there you go. If he wants to come here, he gets to work with Sean Jefferson again in another offense. That's one thing. The other thing, and I look at both wide receiver coaches on this one. Oh, I'm sorry, not both wide receiver coaches, but two of the candidates is Adrian Clem and Sean Jefferson are both associate head coaches on their respective teams.
Yep.
So they're not just looking, and I know you say, and I sort of agree with you, that they're maybe trying to build a staff and bring some of these guys in to not just coach the offense, but coach positions. They're also bringing in guys who are already in leadership roles in their spots before. So we talk about it. We've said it on this show about bringing in a head coach for the offense. Sean Jefferson and Adrian Clem have sort of been a assistant associate head coach for the last 2 seasons or the last season on their team. So they're already in those leadership roles. If they were to be hired, they can come in, likely can command a room and kind of take the whole thing over. At the end of the day, though, it's got to be Bill O'Brien. It just has to be. He's the best candidate. He interviewed today officially. Yesterday, Rappaport came out and said that he was still out recruiting for Alabama. I thought that was kind of odd. I don't know why that got thrown in there. Because then today, all of a sudden, he's in Boston interviewing for the job. So,
well, maybe he's recruiting here. Maybe, hey, you're going to be up there interviewing anyway. We'll go.
Maybe.
I mean, let's look at the timeline. Tom Curran reports Bill O'Brien's the favorite.
Yep.
Then you get these nuggets that maybe Bill O'Brien, like reports that Bill O'Brien's favorite in the building at Gillette. Like they want him.
Right. Yep.
Then you start hearing some stuff that maybe he's not too interested in them. Then boom, boom, boom. You get 3 reports of other people they're interviewing. Then you get the report that Bill O'Brien's out recruiting. And then today, Bill O'Brien finally interviews with the Patriots.
Yeah.
It sounds like maybe one side wants something and the other side, each side's just trying to get what they want out of this
Yeah.
deal. And what that would be, and there was another report from Andrew Callahan yesterday that they're split inside the building about making that trade to get number one wide receiver.
Yep.
I think we all sort of can figure out who's on which side of that argument. I wonder if Bill O'Brien wants certain personnel moves made before he comes here. He cannot afford to come here and fail. I know people in New England can't. It's so funny. I was texting somebody from Alabama today, and
Nick Saban.
Yes, me and Nick Saban are buddies. I was texting somebody from Alabama today, and they were, so O'Brien finally interviewed. I said, yeah, that seems to be the case. He said, good. Can't wait till he's out of here. And it's so funny to me that the Alabama people cannot wish him away fast enough. And for the people in New England, they can't get him here fast enough because the offense was not what it was supposed to be at Alabama this year. Now, a lot of that wasn't on him. And Mike, we are going to bang our heads against the wall explaining this to people over the next couple months and maybe more if Bill O'Brien gets hired. Alabama's wide receivers weren't good this year.
No, they weren't.
People are going to roll their eyes at that and say, oh, well, Bill O'Brien must have been really bad. No, the whole pipeline going back to like Jerry Jeudy and even like Julio Jones, right? Calvin Ridley.
Amari Cooper
is the name I couldn't think of. Thank you. It dried up. It dried up. And
it dried up fast though, because last year they had Mechie and Jameson Williams.
Well, so look at who they lost in the draft. They lost Mechie. They lost Jameson Williams. Aggie Hall was their third receiver. He transferred to Texas. Yep. They were basically left with a bunch of true freshmen or redshirt freshmen who had never played before. And some of them might have been overhyped as recruits, as it turns out. It's funny, if you watch Alabama's offense, it actually sort of looks like the Patriots in the sense that Jahmyr Gibbs rules. That guy can play, the running back.
Yeah.
They tried throwing the ball down the field early in the year. They didn't have the receivers. Then Bryce Young hurts his shoulder. And by the end of the season, they're running everything through the running back. They're running the running back into the ground. Does that sound familiar to you, Mike?
Yeah.
Sound like anybody we know? So,
yeah.
And that's not to say that Bill O'Brien's a bad hire. He's the best option they have right now. I think he's a really good candidate for this job. But he can't afford to fail here because that Alabama, a year after Bryce Young won the Heisman, for it to take that kind of step back, that hurt him. If the offense had looked this year like it did in 2021, we're not talking about Bill O'Brien right now because he's probably the head coach at Auburn or Wisconsin or Nebraska or one of these blue chip college programs.
Yeah.
But we are talking about him. So he needs this to be a success. And for it to be a success, he needs the right personnel. And I don't think he's going to take the job if Bill's not going to give him the right personnel.
I'm with you. And that's what I love about Bill O'Brien so much is his attitude and his demeanor. He's a great play caller. He can scheme it up. He understands, RPO packages and basic concepts. And he's matured himself as an offensive coordinator from when he was here as an assistant to the OC when Brady was here and after McDaniels left. He transfers. He leaves. He takes over Penn State. Goes to then Houston. He runs that whole, system with Deshaun Watson. And he's matured and grown into a really high quality play caller, the way you watch them scheme it up wherever he's been, really, right? But the thing I love about him most is that demeanor he has. They nickname him the Teapot. He's going to flip out. He's going to yell at you. He's going to keep you in line. And sometimes that doesn't go a long way in the NFL, but not that he sits there and, yells at guys, but he's stern and he knows what he wants. And I think, again, looking at bringing in a head coach of the offense, that's exactly what this team needs. They need someone that's going to take the operation and say, this is mine, Bill, get out of the way. And I think Bill O'Brien is one of the guys that can absolutely do that. I think that him and Bill Belichick have this, this mutual respect and a trust in each other, even though they haven't been together in some time, that I think if he comes here, he's going to let O'Brien take over the operation. Paws are going to be off. I wonder, though, like you said about, he wants personnel moves to happen first. Do you think this
doesn't have to be first? I'm not saying like he's not going to sign until they go out and trade for DeAndre Hopkins or Jerry Jeudy. They can't. He can't do that trade until March. But Just like
needs a handshake agreement on it, right?
some sort of assurance, like, hey, we're going to be aggressive in pursuing this. The
Right.
resources needed to do, like, basically sort of, hey, might cost the first round pick to go get Jerry Jeudy. Is that going to be on the table?
Right.
That sort of thing.
So you look at, and I was, doing some Bill O'Brien, I guess, research in air quotes. I was watching a mic'd up video of him the other day on YouTube from the NFL, right? And talking about this fiery guy, but something that I noticed was that, and I don't know when this was in the DeAndre Hopkins timeline, so forget the beef they've had, but you talk about the offenses the Patriots have had here. They haven't had that true number one wide receiver. They scheme stuff up for people every once in a while, but go ahead.
They had Gronk.
Okay, fine. But so let's talk the last 2 seasons with Mac Jones, right? They haven't had a go-to guy.
Correct.
And so there's not really a F it, throw this play out the window and just get it to this guy. And so they're always, there's options on every play and there's no go-to. But I was watching this mic'd up and Houston needed a play. And he called the offense and he was in his OC's here and he was like, give me something for number 10. Give me anything for 10. We just need to get the ball to 10. He's going to make a play for us. The Patriots haven't had that. And Bill O'Brien trusts that tactic is get the ball in my best player's hands and they're going to make something happen. The Patriots haven't done that over the last 2 years. They need something like that. And they need a play caller that's going to call a play like that.
Right.
Do you think Matt Patricia was ever like, let's just get the ball to Jacoby Myers? No, he never really ran up. He didn't run anything in motion. He just called plays off a play sheet.
Well, no, but this is part of the problem. I think Matt Patricia believed he was doing that when they gave the ball to Ramondre Stevenson 30 times a game. I agree. Yeah, I don't think it's that they need a play caller that can make that call. They need a player that you can make that call to, and then you need a guy who will design plays that it's not just. Those sorts of plays are generally pretty complicated because they're one-read plays. You have to be sure that guy's going to be open enough to get a chance.
Right.
You need a guy that can design plays. You can't, right? You're not saying that and then just running 4 verts.
Right. Or like a tunnel screen to the guy. Exactly.
Right. There's a very specific play that's been designed that when you say we're going to 10, there's maybe 2 or 3 calls you have in the playbook, depending on the coverage, that all right, we got to get the ball to 10. We're going with this. Absolutely. You got to have somebody design those. Like that, to me, it's less about the call. It's more about the design.
Patricia, I agree.
Like, Patricia, I think, very much had it in him. Hey, Ramondre is our best play caller. Get the ball to Ramondre. But it's fake screen left, screen right. Fake screen right, screen left, right? It's pump down, throw flat left. Pump down, throw flat right. Let's this weird variation of Haas with him coming out of the backfield. None of that made sense because they could just put a safety on him in man. There was no complementary route to put anybody in conflict.
Yep.
It was just Ramondre, go to the spot. We're going to throw you the ball. That's not how NFL offense works.
Right.
So to me, it's less about, I get what you're saying, but it's less about having the guts to make that call and more about, I say this all the time, the decision's only as good as the play call you have, whether it's going for it on 4th, whether it's going for it for 2, whatever. The decision's only as good as the call you have. And with O'Brien, they couldn't make a good decision, I think in large part because even when they made the right decision, in theory, to go forward or to do a certain thing, they didn't have a call to back up the decision.
You mean with Patricia?
With Patricia, so what I say?
Okay.
O'Brien.
Okay.
With Patricia,
okay.
They didn't have the call to bet. Like, there was one play in that Raiders game on a 3rd down. Okay, so when they ran the naked QB boot against the Raiders on that 3rd down late in that game, I actually don't hate the call to run there. I really don't. But you can't run that play.
Right.
So that's what excites me about this new offensive coordinator is when they have that gotta have it moment, the play call is actually going to have a chance to work.
Yeah.
That's more what it's about for me.
I'm with you. So again, I just think, and I said it before and I've said it a million times, and I said it as soon as the rumor came out that O'Brien had interest in coming back to the league. It's like, it was so obvious that this should have been the way they went even a season ago.
Yeah.
And now that they're doing it a season too late, it's like, just make it happen. And I get you have to interview everybody and you have to go through it. But if for some reason it doesn't happen, it really is going to infuriate me because it just seems like it's such an obvious decision.
For what it's worth, I don't think it was an option last year.
Yeah,
I
no,
think even if they
fair.
had wanted to hire him, I don't think they could have.
And is that a whole Saban Belichick thing?
I think it's a Saban thing.
Okay.
I don't think it's a Saban Belichick thing. I think it's a Saban thing, and I think it's an O'Brien. He had a 2-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
He had one more year. He knew he was going to be in a good spot to be should have been very successful. His path to being a head coach again at that time, if he wanted to be a head coach again as soon as possible, the answer was staying at Alabama. The answer was not coming to New England.
Yeah.
And I just think there wasn't a ton of incentive for him to take the job here last year. Unless the Patriots are going to truly back up the Brinks truck, which in itself would not have made sense.
Right.
There wasn't a ton of incentive for him to come here. Now it's different, right? He had a bad year at Alabama. His stock is way down. He's not getting those head coaching looks. His contract's up. They might not have him back. If he's the guy that gets Mac Jones back on the right track, he can go be head coach again. So the situation has changed. I don't think it was realistic that he was coming here last year, whether the Patriots wanted him or not.
That's fair. And I've always wondered too about him and being this head coach in waiting here. I've kind of had that on my radar ever since he went back to Houston when he left Penn State. It's like he's always sort of had this. There's always been this thing. It's like Bill O'Brien's going to come back here and be the head coach one day. I've heard it. I've thought about it. Now with Mayo seemingly in line, I don't know how likely that will ever be again. So I wonder where Belichick or where this team stands on, okay, we're going to bring this guy in. He's going to do well. He's going to be gone in 2 years. And then we have to do this whole thing again. Right. So it's tough too, but
that's why
that was the thinking last year. And this is where we're at. So you can't think like that anymore.
But I think part of it, too, is, yes, O'Brien might be gone a year or two. If you hire a guy like Keenan McCardell or Sean Jefferson as a wide receivers coach, you can have O'Brien kind of getting that guy ready.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you can this is what they never had that seamless transition. And that's what you can set up. The seamless transition would have been Josh McDaniels to Nick Caley, and they skipped it. They just chose not to. Right. We've seen them do it on the defensive side of the ball all the time. They had it on the offensive line for a little bit. It went from Scar to Cole and Carm, and then Carmen Brasillo on his own, and then there's nobody next.
Right.
If you hire Bill O'Brien, you bring in a Jefferson or a guy like Sean Jefferson or a guy like Keenan McCardell, you don't necessarily have to worry as much about O'Brien leaving because you do still have that next guy lined up.
That's a fair point. So again, it has to be I feel like you got to make 2 hires out of this interview cycle. So that's ideal. Let's talk about Rocket Money, Alex, before we wrap up the show. Do you know how much your subscriptions really cost? You probably don't, as nearly 80% of Americans have subscriptions that they completely forget about. Most of us spend around $80 a month on subscriptions most of us think we spend $80 a month on subscriptions when
Oh, now we're losing Mike. We're losing Mike, or did we lose me? Are you back?
Am I back? Yeah.
All kinds
I don't know what happened.
All right. Maybe you're in the problem. Go ahead.
That might have been me. Back to Rocket Money. It could be an unused Amazon Prime account, Hulu, ESPN Plus, whatever it is, they're draining your bank account, and you could be wasting hundreds of dollars a month on subscriptions you don't even know about. Not me, though, because there's an app I use now called Rocket Money. It used to be known as Truebill. The app shows all your subscriptions all in one place and then cancels for you whatever you still don't want. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. You may even find out you've been double charged for a subscription. To cancel, all you have to do is press the cancel button, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Get rid of useless subscriptions with Rocket Money now. Go to rocketmoney.com/PatsBeat. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/PatsBeat. Cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now at rocketmoney.com/PatsBeat. Yeah, we're really blowing this thing today, Alex, huh?
What's going on? Yeah.
It's tough when you do a live show. Okay, lastly, let's wrap up the show with the Shrine Bowl rosters. We're going to go in depth on these. So the Patriots are coaching the Shrine Bowl in Vegas at the beginning of February. They're coaching the West team, I believe.
West team. Although, and I didn't know this, maybe they changed it this year because I could have sworn it used to be divided east-west by where the kids went to school. But Zay Flowers and Jake Bobo,
Yep.
BC and UCLA are on the same team.
Yeah.
So I guess not. I guess it's just arbitrary, which works out for the Patriots. We can get into that in a second.
100%. Yeah. So the Patriots are coaching the West team. We're going to do a full breakdown pretty much of their rosters next week on the show.
Yeah. We only have the offense right now.
We only have the offense
tomorrow.
Right. We only have the offense today. So I just wanted to quickly give out. I have two names that I think are awesome on offense for this team. I know, Alex, you have a few as well. But I want to start with, I'm going to start with Jack Coletto. So this kid is nicknamed the Jackhammer. He's from Oregon State. He was a Beaver. And he's listed as a fullback / tight end. And this season won the Paul Hornung Award for the most versatile player in college football. So that just absolutely screams Patriots to me. A guy who can play everywhere. He played linebacker this season as well. I just think that when you have a week to coach these guys and you see what this kid can do all over the field, I think that's a guy that could easily be on the Patriots' radar just because they always bring guys like that in. Someone who really can just do all. Like you look at, I don't want to say, yeah.
No, I was going to say, you want a list of the Paul Hornung Award winners the last couple of years?
Absolutely.
So Jack Coletto just won it, right?
Yep.
The year before him, Marcus Jones, Devontae Smith, then Lynn Bowden played for the Patriots this year, Rondale Moore, Saquon Barkley, Jabril Peppers. So that's what, 3 of the last 7 have played for or were on the Patriots roster this year. This is like the, what is that other award? That kid's playing in this game too. Hang on. I'll find it.
Yeah, go for it. But again, I just think that that's a guy that they're going to have their eyes on because, again, versatility is huge. He plays offense and defense, fullback, tight end. They've looked for, they might want the fullback back this season, depending on what Bill O'Brien wants to run, and they could use some help in the tight end room too. So Jack Coletto, keep an eye on that. You have your thing?
The other award, by the way, the Cliff Harris Award goes to the best non-D1 player in college football each year. Last 2 guys to win it, Kyle Duggar. They didn't give it out in 2020. Kyle Duggar, Sam Roberts. What do both those guys have in common? They both got drafted by the Patriots. So the kid who won it this year, whose name is escaping me again, is he went to, I can tell you he went to Ferris State. I can tell you he's a defensive end. I can tell you he's 6'5", 235. His name is Caleb Murphy. He will also be in the Shrine Bowl. So we'll get to him.
Is Matthew Judon on that list by any chance?
They weren't giving this award out when Matthew Judon. This is a relatively new. They've only done it like 4 or 5 times.
Oh, okay. Got it.
It's a relatively new list, but you can. So the Paul Hornung Award, the Cliff Harris Award, you can sort of track these things. Clearly, these are guys the Patriots at least consider.
Yep.
So
100%. So that's my guy. The other guy is BC's Zay Flowers, rather.
Yeah.
He's only 5'10", so I wonder about what the Patriots want to do as far as, a big downfield receiver like a Hopkins who's taller than 5'10" and less of a shifty guy. But Zay Flowers was unbelievable at Boston College over the last few years. I broke down one play from him today on Twitter if you want to go check it out. And it's a simple breakdown, but it just showed 2 things that I loved about him was his speed off the line, his route, or 3 things. His speed off the line, he got off quick. His route running, he's able to turn a guy around like that. And then the way he tracked the ball from a really bad Phil Dracovic pass was like, you can literally see it. It like skips a beat on the film. Like he's running like a diagonal, and then all of a sudden he breaks across the field to get under the ball, and then he goes to another gear and it scores 6. So I don't know where they're going to be. Zay Flowers is going to jump up these draft boards as these bowl games go, as the combine goes. So I don't know if Zay Flowers is going to even make it out of the first round. And to me, I still think that their first round need is cornerback or tackle, but depending on how fast Flowers flies up this board, or if he falls back and the Patriots want to go for him early second round, if they want to, jump up or something, I'd keep an eye on Zay Flowers too, because they have a connection at BC here. So those are my 2 guys, Coletto and Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I like Zay Flowers. He's just one of those guys there. If you're going to draft Zay Flowers in the second, you can get Tank Dell in the 4th.
Yeah.
Similar player, right?
Right.
I'll just run through a couple that are interesting to me here. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR from UCLA. I don't think it's a big offseason for quarterbacks for the Patriots. I've been pretty clear on that, but they've targeted guys like this the last couple years. Experienced mobile college quarterbacks to Eric King, Jamar Smith. He's not supposed to be drafted, so a guy they'll get familiar with, maybe bring him in on the practice squad. He could be a good scout team guy. Running back room, you mentioned Coletto. Couple more guys that excite me. Muhammad Ibrahim from Minnesota.
Yep, Minnesota.
Third
The
in the
kid's a stud.
nation in rushing yards this year. It's 1,600. Tied the national lead with 20 touchdowns. This is his third 1,000-yard year. Patriots love early down backs with big-time college production. You're not going to get much more production than you're going to get with Ibrahim. He's projected to go middle late on day 3. Travis Dye being on this list from USC is very interesting to me. A textbook Patriots third down back, great pass blocker, soft hands, easy receiver, good route runner. Now, the reason his name is interesting to me, in November, it was mid-November, he suffered a season-ending knee injury. We don't know what it is. The reports were that it was season-ending, but it was not expected to impact his football career long-term. So that could be a whole number of things.
Right.
If he's already ready to participate in the Shrine Bowl, that's a great sign. Maybe he's not participating, but sometimes guys who are hurt, they still go to these games just to do the interviews, just to talk to the scouts and get to know them. Textbook third down back. If the Patriots want to hedge their bets on Pierre Strong, he's a great fit. Wide receivers, you mentioned Zay Flowers, kind of a shiftier slot guy. I'll give you two big outside guys. Well, two big guys. One's an outside guy. Bryce Ford Wheaton, pure outside receiver, 6'4" from West Virginia. The way that guy goes up and gets the football, it's a treat to watch. It really is. Yep. He's a great 50-50 ball player. Not much to his game besides that, but a guy you can put on the end of your roster as a, as a red zone threat. Also, great special teams player. Forced 2 muff punts this year, covering punts. Got a great job. Go down, time it up, get to the returner just as the ball gets there. He's projected to be a day 3 pick. And then Jake Bobo is a hybrid tight end wide receiver, local kid from around here, goes to UCLA. He transferred from somewhere, I don't remember, but played at UCLA this year. Can play in the slot, can play outside, can play inline. We know that they're comfortable using guys in that role. I look at what they did with Lil Jordan Humphrey last year. They want a guy maybe a little more polished, a little more explosive to sit in that role. I think Jake Bobo would be a really good fit. At the tight ends.
Went to Duke before
Duke,
UCLA.
Thank you. Luke Schoonmaker, 6'5", 250, productive season for Michigan. We're going to talk about him as a developmental, project tight end in early on day 3, middle of day 3. And then at tackle, I'll wrap it up here soon. Jackson Kirkland from Washington was supposed to be a first-round pick last year. Hurt his ankle, realized he wasn't going to be able to do the combine and all of that, decided to go back to school. So has an all-pro, not all-pro, he was all Pac-12 in 2021, goes back to school. Back at left tackle, after the first game, they basically realized that their left guard, who was new, wasn't going to cut it. So they move Kirkland into left guard. And he had an unbelievable year. He allowed 9 pressures on 400-something pass blocking snaps. So positional versatility.
Yep, they love that.
Team player for a guy to move inside from tackle to guard in a draft-eligible year.
Yeah, seriously.
Now, there's going to be some questions of, well, is he actually a guard? That's going to be a question, and we're going to figure that out, next week. Where are they lining him up? Are they lining him up at tackle? Are they lining him up at guard? If he's lining up at guard, I'm not super interested in him.
No,
if he's lining up at tackle in this class, he's going to
fall.
That's a great value pick. If they don't want to take a tackle in the first round, getting Kirkland in the second or third, again, if they view him as a tackle, makes sense. And then Dalton Wagner from Arkansas, another guy that I was supposed to come out last year, had a mid-round grade last year, went back. He actually didn't have a great year. His stock has fallen. So maybe if they want to double up at tackle, he'd be an interesting guy to take a flyer on.
I love
it.
And
everybody can breathe. Everybody can breathe. Again, that's just a couple. That's just one side of the ball on one of 2 rosters that stood out to me. Mike, this is what you're getting yourself into.
I love it. We're going to do it all. We're going to do the whole roster next week. Next week, we're going to do the whole Shrine Bowl roster next week. We're going to also try and get go.
Sorry, let me add one more thing. So I did a short list of players just off the accepted invites that I wanted to see, that I was hoping the Patriots would get to work with in this game before the rosters came out. 11 of the 12 guys I listed are on their team.
Look at that.
Sorry, 10 of the 12. So the
That's
only ones who aren't, I'll just, because we're doing it right now, Tavion Thomas, running back from Utah, 6'2", 235, downhill runner, bruiser. Damian Harris replacement, goal line back. And we were talking about Coletto, right? There's a guy from Houston named Parrish. I want to say Jack Parrish. I don't know why I can't think of it. He's another defensive end fullback hybrid.
Jack Parsons?
And he's going to Parsons, yeah.
Is it Parsons?
I
might be wrong.
I don't know. This is killing me. I've been obsessed with this guy. He's like one of my favorite. Derek Parrish. What did I say? John Parsons? Derek Parrish.
I said that.
Derek Parrish from Houston, hybrid fullback defensive end. He'll be on the East team as well. But he's somebody I thought the Patriots would drool all over, and then they get Coletto. So they still got a guy like that.
Yeah. I love that. As soon as I saw that he won the versatility award, I was like, this guy screams Patriots. So again, we're going to be back next week. We'll break that whole thing down. Apologies on Miguel. We wanted to do Pat's cap today. We'll get to that at some point later on, whether that's next week or later on in the offseason, because we do want to reset the cap and, figure out where they're at. Plenty of questions for him. But until next week, what I'm going to do, Alex, actually, is I'm going to go make some dinner with HelloFresh. HelloFresh, easy, quick meals, super easy. Go to HelloFresh.com/beat21. Use the code beat21 for 21 free meals and free shipping. Again, that's HelloFresh.com/beat21. Use the code beat21 for your 21 free meals. Me and Alex will be back next week, early next week. We're going to break down, like I said, both these the offensive, defensive, the Shrine Bowl rosters that the Patriots are going to be working with. Alex is going to the Shrine Bowl. If you want to tease that as well before we get out of here.
So Catch 22, me and Evan's podcast on Patriots.com. We recorded a new episode today. There's teams sending us. Y'all saw how it started, and now they are actually sending me and Evan to evaluate the prospects. Not for them. We're not scouting for them. Unless they listen to the show. They're more than welcome to listen to the show. But
hey, you never know.
Me and Evan will be down there doing daily podcasts, talking about what we've seen from the prospects. We'll also get into sort of the layout of the Patriots coaching staff, right? Who's working with what position? Where's Matt Patricia? Where's Joe Judge? Where's Gerard Mayo? It's going to be an interesting way to see that as well. So me and Evan will have that. I don't know. We're still sort of working out the details of the first show for that will be Thursday or Friday of next week. But it's on Patriots.com. It's on my Twitter. But and when I come back, Mike, I'll bring everything I see to this show too.
I'm hopping in the luggage, Barth. I'm going to be there with you guys. I'm getting there somehow. So check that out. Again, me and Alex will be back, break down these rosters. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next week.